So let's go ahead and start graphing. Our last video we learned about the parts of a parabola and kind of what the A, B, and the C do, or their importance, and now we're going to go ahead and actually graph some. So for today we're not going to do the factored form. We're going to stick with our standard form and look at f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and graph. First we're going to go ahead and simply graph f of x equals x squared. And we call this our parent function. It's kind of like the most basic of all. There's nothing else. It's you just have your x squared with your coefficient of 1. So always the first thing to do while graphing is identify A, B, and C. Okay, so A, again, our coefficient on our x squared term, that's just going to be 1, because we don't have one, or there is no actual value there right now. Our C is going to be 0, and our B is 0, and our C is 0 as well. So after we identify that, we want to find the x, or our axis of symmetry, or also the x value of our vertex. And remember, we're going to use that equation negative b all over 2a. Well, our b value is 0. We don't really have negative 0, so we're just going to do 0 all over 2 times a, which is 1. So we get 0 over 2, and 0 divided by anything just gets us 0. So we simply get x is equal to 0, and that's our axis of symmetry and also the x value for our vertex. Now, third step we want to do is we're going to go ahead and find the vertex. And if I can write vertex, there we go. And remember, that's negative b over 2a f of x. So we need to take our 0 value and we need to substitute it back into our equation. So we have f of x equals 0 squared, which is 0. So our vertex is 0, 0. That one coming from your x and this one from your y. So now we can go ahead and start graphing it. I'm a very visual person, so I always like to start graphing it at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and use a different color just so we can kind of see the difference. So 0, 0, here's our vertex, and remember our axis of symmetry always goes straight through that. So we're going to go ahead and put that axis of symmetry right there. Now we said that, well, axis of symmetry meaning it's symmetric. So what we get to do next is, I feel like being colorful today, we'll use some purple. You're going to make an XY t-chart. It's not factored, so we can't find our x-intercepts really easily right here, although we already did find that vertex, which is on the x-intercept. So the best thing to do is always take the vertex and put it directly in the center of your t-chart. And I always like to do a minimum of 3 points. You're always welcome to do more, though. And I like to choose 1 point directly to the left. So here's our axis of symmetry. 1 directly to the left is going to be negative 1. And 1 directly to the right is going to be positive 1. And since it's symmetric and those are equidistant away from the axis of symmetry, they're both 1 unit away, we automatically know that the y value is going to be exactly the same, so we can go ahead and just solve for 1, and we get the other. So let's go ahead and we'll just take negative 1. That's the first one we have on there. So we have y equals negative 1 squared, and always make sure that you're putting your whatever you're substituting in parentheses, so we don't mess up our negative. That's one of the really big mistakes that a lot of people tend to make on this. And so negative 1 squared would be negative 1 times negative 1, which is, so y is equal to 1. So we get 1, 1, and there's our parabola. That's it. Okay, so again, identify your A, B, and C, find your axis of symmetry, and then after that you're going to go ahead and find your vertex. I'm going to go ahead and just leave this example on its own, and I'll go ahead and do another example in the next video.